I want you to picture something for me. You're in bed. It's 3 in the morning. The room is dark, but not completely. There's a little light coming in from the street outside, enough that you can see shapes. Your dresser. The chair in the corner. The door you closed before you went to sleep. You wake up. You don't know why. There's no noise, no alarm, nothing you can name. You just open your eyes and there's that thick, disoriented feeling of not knowing what time it is or what pulled you out of a deep sleep. And then you see it. At the foot of your bed. Standing completely still. Something that is almost the shape of a person, but not quite. Because people don't have wings. Not like that. Not folded close, not tucked against the back like something waiting. Like something that has been there for a while. A long while. Long enough that you wonder, lying there with your heart slamming against your ribs, whether it was there when you went to sleep. That's what my client described. Those exact words. Long enough that you wonder. She said it twice. That call came in on a Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. I still have it in my log.my name is Andie Burke. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I specialize in crisis intervention. When people call a certain hotline in Chicago at 2 in the morning, there's a chance they get me. 12 years. I've heard things that would. Nothing surprises me anymore. Or so I thought. The client I'm talking about, I'll call her Teresa. That's not her name, but I need to protect her. Teresa was a regular caller. Anxiety, insomnia, some PTSD from a car accident 3 years prior. She was not a person given to hallucinations. She was a 44-year-old woman who worked in insurance and drove a sensible car and called me because talking helped her get back to sleep. That night, her voice was different. She wasn't hyperventilating. She wasn't crying. She was just quiet. The way someone is quiet when they don't want to make any noise. Like whatever else. He was looking at might hear her. Call log, client 001/ Teresa, March 14th, 2023, 3:07 a.m. It's standing there. At the end of my bed. I can see it right now. It has wings, Andie. I know how that sounds. But it has wings, and they're folded back, and it's just standing there looking at me. It's been there for, I don't know how long before I woke up. I kept her on the line. I asked her to turn on the light. She did, and she said it was gone. I documented it as a stress-induced hypnagogic hallucination, the clinical term for seeing things in that half-awake state between sleep and consciousness. It happens. It's common. I closed the file. I moved on. 6 days later, someone else called. Call log, client 002/ Marcus, March 20th, 2023, 2:54 a.m. There's something in my room. I know I'm awake because I turned on my phone screen just to make sure. And it's still there. Tall. Wings folded up. Standing at the foot of my bed. It's not moving. It's just looking at me. Same time of night. Same description. Wings folded close. Standing at the foot of the bed. Not moving. Just watching. I told myself it was coincidence. 2 people. Same hotline. Same city. I told myself that. I believed it. For about 2 weeks. Then the 3rd call came. And the 4th. By April 10th, I had 8 separate call logs. 8 different clients. People who did not know each other. I confirmed this through intake protocol. Different neighborhoods. Different ages. Different jobs. A retired teacher from Rogers Park. A grad student from Hyde Park. A bartender from Logan Square. A single mother from Bridgeport. Different everything. Wings. Folded close to the body. Tall, almost always described as tall, like close to the ceiling. Standing at the foot of the bed. Not moving. Not making a sound. Just watching. And gone the moment a light came on. I started putting pushpins in a map of Chicago. One for each sighting. In the movies, there's a dramatic moment when the camera zooms in. In real life, you just feel cold. You stand th. Air with a pushpin in your hand and you think, no, that can't be right. Every pin was equidistant from a single point. A single address. Not a cluster. Not a rough area. A perfect geometric radius. Like someone had drawn a circle with a compass and given everyone inside it the same nightmare. Call log, client 005/Grace, April 2nd, 2023, 3:22 a.m. It didn't feel scary in the way I expected. I was terrified, but the thing I kept thinking was, it felt like it recognized me. Like it had been looking for me. And it found me. All of them said it didn't feel threatening. More like, waiting. Expecting. Like it had come to see something specific and was standing there until it found it. I drove to the address. A 2-flat on the north side. Ravenswood neighborhood. The kind of heavy, serious Chicago architecture that looks like it's trying to anchor itself to the earth. One window on the second floor was lit. The rest of the house was dark. I sat in my car across the street for 20 minutes. The lit window was just a window. The house was just a house. Something was centered on that building. I went back through the call logs one more time. This time I wasn't looking at the descriptions. I was looking at how each client reacted when the light came on, and it disappeared. 7 of the 8 clients described relief. Obviously. Light comes on, thing is gone. One of them, the retired teacher, I'll call her Dolores, said she felt her word bereft. Call log, client 003/Dolores, March 28th, 2023, 2:49 a.m. When I turned on the lamp and it was gone, I felt sad. Like something had left. Like I'd made it leave before it could do what it came to do. I sat with that word. Bereft. Like it had a purpose there. Like it was looking for something specific, and she had interrupted it. I ran property records on the address. The building had been a 2-flat since 1938. Multiple owners. Nothing remarkable. And then I found a name in the property record chain from 1989 to 1998. And I had to put my phone down on the table. Because it was my mother's name. I grew up in that house. We lived there from 1988 to 1997. I was 4 when we moved in. 13 when we left. 9 years. My whole childhood. The room on the second floor with the window facing the alley, that was my room. Whatever was leaving those 8 people sleepless and terrified, it was radiating outward from my childhood bedroom. I drove to my mother's house that night. She lives in Evanston now. I knocked on the door at 9 OCL. On a Sunday, and she took one look at my face and stepped back to let me in without saying a word. We sat at her kitchen table. I told her everything. When I was done, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I always wondered what happened to your drawings. When I was 7 years old, 1991, she said very specifically, I had an imaginary friend. What was unusual was how I described it. I didn't give it a consistent name. But I drew it. Constantly. On everything. Tall. Thin. Wings folded close to the body, almost like a coat. Standing still. Always standing still. She said, You told me once it lived in your room. That it stood at the foot of your bed and watched over you at night. You weren't scared. You seemed comforted. I drove home at midnight. I sat in my car in the parking garage with the engine off. 8 people. A perfect circle. All leading back to the place where a 7-year-old girl drew something out of her own imagination and called it her friend. I went back to the house on a Wednesday night. April 19th. I know the date because I wrote everything down afterward, and I did not sleep that night or the night after. I parked on the street at 11 p.m. The neighborhood was quiet. The single amber light on the second floor was on again. Same window. My old bedroom. I sat there until 2 in the morning. Nothing happened. I was starting to feel foolish when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Incoming call, unknown number, April 19th, 2023, 2:03 a.m. I got your number from the crisis line. I'm sore. Why for calling so late? There's something in my room. Wings. Standing at the end of my bed. But tonight it's different. Tonight it spoke to me. It said a name. It said it was looking for someone. My mouth was dry. I asked her to tell me the name. She said, Andie. I looked up at the window of the house across the street. The amber light. My old room. I got out of the car. I walked across the street and stood at the bottom of the porch steps. The light was on. And then, very slowly, a shadow passed across it from the inside. Tall. Thin. Wings folded close. Something was standing in my old room. I climbed the steps. I knocked. No one answered. The door, I found out later the latch was broken, swung inward. The ground floor was empty. Not just quiet, empty. Bare floors. Old walls. The specific silence of a space that hasn't had a person in it for a while. The stairs were ahead of me. The light was still on above. I went up. I need you to understand that I did not, in that moment, feel afraid. I felt something I don't have a clean word for. Something between recognition and grief, like walking into a room you haven't been in for 20 years and finding it exactly as you left it. The door to the bedroom at the end of the hall was open. Light coming through it, amber, warm, pooling near the center of the floor. No lamp. No light source I could identify, and yet there was light. The walls still had the old wallpaper from when we lived there. Pink and white stripes, faded to almost nothing. I recognized it with a physical jolt. And in the middle of the room, where my bed used to be, it was standing. Tall. Thin. Wings folded close, the way a person folds their arms. Not moving. Looking at me with no face I could name but eyes I could feel. 2 points of deep dark red that I recognized the way you recognize something out of a dream you had as a child. I said, I don't know why I said this, it came out before I thought it. I remember you. It didn't move. But the quality of the room changed. Something released. Like pressure I hadn't noticed until it was gone. And then it wasn't there. Not gone the way Teresa described. More like, withdrawn. Like it had gone back somewhere. Like it had been waiting for those 2 words, and now it was finished waiting. The light faded. The room went dark. I stood alone in a child's bedroom in an empty building in Chicago at 2 in the morning with pink striped wallpaper from 1991 and a floor that still had the faint square impression of where a small bed had once Saturday. None of my clients have called to report the figures since that night. All 8 went quiet. They've described, at subsequent check-ins, a specific kind of calm. 3 of them used the same words, independently, with no prompting from me, like a door they hadn't known was open had been closed gently, from the inside. I cannot explain what I saw in that room. I am a person who deals in explanations for a living, and I don't have one. What I have is this: when I was 7 years old, I made something. In the way children make things, out of loneliness, maybe, or imagination, or some need that never got articulated into words. I made it, and I drew it, and I called it mine, and then I grew up and forgot about it. But it didn't forget about me. It waited in the house on Ravenswood. For 32 years it waited. And when it started looking outward, 8 people in a circle around my childhood bedroom woke up in the dark to something standing at the foot of their beds. Not to hurt them. Not to haunt them. To find me. And the thing that keeps me up at night, the thing I check my own room for when I wake up at 3 in the morning now, is this. It found me. I acknowledged it. It left. But acknowledgement is not the same as release. Leaving is not the same as gone. And somewhere between what I saw and what I felt in that room, somewhere in there, I am not entirely certain which of us was doing the recognizing. I think about Dolores. Bereft. Like she'd made it leave before it could do what it came to do. I think about what it came to do. I think about the fact that it said my name. I have no more answers. Only the dark. This has been Haunted Stories. Subscribe if you dare. Some doors close from the inside.